He was 29. A bilingual Canadian man living in Montreal. He wasn't famous. He wasn't armed. He wasn't dangerous. He was in crisis. His name was Abisay Cruz. He lived in Saint Michel, a neighborhood known for its immigrant families. He had no history of violence. But that didn't matter on that day. A call went out. They said he was acting strangely, possibly distressed. He needed help. So police were dispatched. Not a medical team. Not crisis professionals. Not someone trained in de-escalation. But armed officers, with the authority to use force. When they arrived, they didn't speak softly. They didn't wait. They entered the apartment. And moments later, neighbors heard shouting. Inside, Abisay was restrained. 3 officers pressed him to the floor, one with a knee on his back. He cried out. He said he couldn't breathe. He said he was going to die. They didn't listen. Paramedics arrived, but were told to wait outside. The officers said the scene wasn't secure. So they stood there, outside the door, as Abisay faded. Finally, they dragged him out. His body limp, his eyes barely open, placed in the ambulance. Too late. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Not from a weapon. Not from a fight. But from a medical crisis. Made worse by the response meant to help. His family watched in horror. His sister said he had been struggling. But he wasn't violent. He wasn't a threat. He needed help. And instead, he died in handcuffs. Videos surfaced. Neighbors had filmed parts of it. You could hear his cries. You could see him restrained. You could hear nothing from the officers. No comfort. No care. Just silence and control. Rights groups reacted immediately. They called it excessive force. They called it racist. They called it a failure of duty. The provincial police watchdog opened an investigation. But for many, that wasn't enough. Because they had seen this before. Not just in Canada, but in the United States, in France, in Australia. Black and brown bodies restrained. Until they stopped moving. Abisay's case was not an exception. It was part of a pattern. A pattern of police showing up. Not to protect, but to dominate. To control. To escalate. And when someone dies, they call it tragic. But they rarely call it criminal. His family still waits for answers. They want the body cam footage. They want names. They want accountability. No officers were charged. No one was suspended. No apology was made. Officials said they followed protocol. But the question remains. What kind of protocol lets a man die, while help is waiting outside the door? What kind of system treats mental illness as a threat? What kind of training tells an officer to pin a man down while he's begging for his life? Abisay Cruz's death sparked outrage. But outrage is not justice. A hashtag is not enough. A statement is not enough. He was a brother, a son, a human being, who should still be alive. His mother said. They didn't see him as a person. They saw him as a problem. And once he stopped breathing, he became paperwork. His community held a vigil. They lit candles. They held signs. They told stories about who he was. Quiet. Gentle. Always helping neighbors. Always smiling. A man who needed support. Not handcuffs. But like too many before him. He was treated like a threat. Because of the color of his skin. Because of where he lived. Because the system is built to respond with force. Not compassion. This is not just about Abisay. This is about every person in crisis, who fears calling for help, because they might not survive it. This is about a system that treats symptoms like crimes, and people like problems. Abisay was not perfect, but he was human, and that should have been enough. Instead, his name is added to a list, a growing list of people, failed by those meant to protect them. And now, we say his name, not because he wanted attention, but because he deserves justice. Abisay Cruz. Say his name. Remember his story. Demand better. Because no one should die begging for help, while help is standing outside the door.